This week we're talking ST segments and T waves and the funky thing that goes on with them. ST segment itself starts at the end of the QRS complex, right here at the J point, and continues to the beginning of the T wave. So that's what we're focusing on here, the ST segment itself. So this portion of our complete complex is our ventricles have depolarized and are going into the repolarization stage. So they are repolarizing. So it's between depolarizing and repolarization. So the T wave itself is repolarization, and we're kind of in between the two. So normally ST segment should go back to baseline. Sometimes we've got some depression. And later on, we'll talk about we have ST elevation. So ST segment should be baseline, but it could be lower than that, could be depressed, could be higher than that, could be elevated. There's our ST segment there in red. It's going to start at the J point where the QRS meets the ST segment. So important to practice finding a J point, and we're focusing just on this little red teeny tiny segment, this ST segment, the entire thing, our TP from our P wave to the end of the T wave. Our T wave itself is our ventricular repolarization, but right now we're just focusing on that little tiny part in between the QRS complex and the beginning of the T wave. We're going to have to practice finding the that J point, because we're going to be measuring from the J point. We're going to be comparing that ST segment compared to the J point from the J point. So we're going to have to practice finding the J point, and it's not as easy as it may sound to begin with, because sometimes a J point is super sharp. You can see it, a mile away. But a lot of the times it's it's a little bit more cloudy. It's a little bit more like rounded out. So the beginning, of that T wave isn't the most clear. The end of the QRS complex isn't the most clear. Right, here comes your art appreciation course. The J point might be sharp or it might not be sharp. And when it's not sharp, we're going to kind of approximate where the J point kind of is or might be. And that's what we're going to be have to have some practice with. So here, now our J point is sharp. There it is. It's right there. Right? And the QRS, beginning of the ST segment, right there. Bam, right there. No argument. But sometimes J point is kind of diffuse, right? We just kind of go into the ST segment, and where the QRS complex ends and where the ST segment begins is not so sharp, right? So here we say the J point is diffuse, and the J point could be kind of like anywhere in here. So this just takes time, takes practice, takes you just staring at lots and lots of 12 leads to find J points. A few more examples, right? So we've got V1, V2, V3 here on the left, V1, V2, V3 here on the right. On the left, pretty sharp J points, right? And each lead, each complex is going to have its own J point. And here on the left, they're pretty sharp. Here on the right, they're a little diffuse, right? We kind of schmarp into the ST segment, and it's not exactly as sharp as this 12 lead on the left. So the J point here in these diffuse J points can be kind of anywhere in this box. So, where is the J point? Well, it's somewhere around here. So just know, don't get frustrated. Just know that it might be sharp. That J point might be sharp, or it might be diffuse, and you might be not be able to really pinpoint and put it, this little thumbtack into your J point. Next, we're going to take that J point and that ST segment, and we are going to compare it to baseline. It should be at baseline, right? So ST segment should be at your baseline. QRS complex should come back to baseline. Your ST segment should be at baseline. If it's anything above baseline, we're going to say it's elevated. If it's below baseline, we're going to say it's depressed. So if we talk about ST elevation, your ST segment is above baseline. It doesn't come back to baseline. If we say that we have ST segment depression, that means your ST segment is below baseline. So again, not coming back to baseline. It goes below baseline. It stays below your baseline. That relationship to the baseline is what we are evaluating our ST segment on. So ST segment elevation, ST segment depression is all determined by where our baseline is. ST segment should be back at baseline. If it's anything higher, it is elevated. If it's anything lower, it is depressed. So we either have ST elevation or ST depression. We are going to be focusing a lot on ST segment elevation here coming up and talking about STEMIs, talking about heart attacks and these myocardial infarctions and these ST segment elevation myocardial infarctions. So what makes elevation? So sometimes the ST segment can be elevated just a little bit and that's fine. No big deal, right? But in most leads, any elevation greater than 1 millimeter above baseline is going to be a significant elevation, and we're going to call that an elevated ST segment, except for lead 1 or V1 and V2. So leads V1 and V2 have kind of a little bit of elevation just normally because of their windows, because of their views, and that's fine, that's normal. So in V1 and V2, our standard for elevation, we don't call it elevated until it reaches 2 millimeters. So most leads, just about every lead, 1 millimeter or greater of ST elevation is significant, but in V1 and V2, we need at least 2 millimeters of elevation to call that ST segment elevation significant.